How would you spend all this money, $55 million, which could be enough for several generations, buying units, apartments, villas, farms, recreational boats, luxury cars, and jeeps? In the end, talking about $55 million, these things are insignificant compared to this amount of money. What if we let go of our beautiful dreams and return to the world of bitter realities? Without a doubt, this money cannot be earned through ordinary classic jobs, or like Arjan Findikoglu, by working as a bartender from night till morning in a bar in the city. Arjan Findikoglu was a hacker known for his ability to manipulate money. But how did he manage to steal 55 million, and how was he caught? If you are ready, we will start the story of the life of a Turkish hacker who, with the support of Russian hackers, was able to steal $55 million. First, let's talk about Arjan's life story. According to Arjan's lawyer, he was born in 1981 in the city of Kastamonu, Turkey. He had a difficult childhood and education. His mother was sick, and his father mostly tormented and mentally abused Arjan. Due to the unhealthy family conditions, Arjan could not be a successful student in school and dropped out. Until the time for his military service, Arjan had a bad life with his family. To stay away from the restless atmosphere at home, he constantly went to internet cafes and tried to distance himself from home by working in internet cafes. Again, according to his lawyer, Arjan worked and made progress in computer skills during his military service in the field of computer skills. When his military service was over, Arjan's real life began. In the summer of 2005, Arjan decided to leave home and work in the city of Bodrum. He worked as a bartender in a small bar and rented a small apartment in Bodrum to save the tips he received as a bartender. He wanted to build a future for himself, but his dreams were not the kind of dreams that could be realized by living in a small apartment or working in a small bar. The money he received as tips barely covered his daily expenses, let alone saving anything. Not to mention being able to save. Arjan's job was hard, but despite that, after each shift he would return tired and exhausted to his apartment. He would open his laptop and each time step into his own different dream world and get lost. Over time, during his military service and also during his time as a bartender, Arjan gained a lot of information about computers and the internet. Additionally, because he was in Bodrum, which was also famous for tourist areas, he worked there. Many tourists came to Bodrum, and Arjan gradually managed to learn a few languages to some extent and communicate. It was in 2006 when he realized he could make money through his skills. Arjan became a member of a Russian hacker group. When Arjan first joined this group, he didn't have much income, but he wouldn't trade the fame he had gained in the virtual world for anything. In the virtual world, Arjan was known by names like Oregon, Predator, Sigiti, or Ammoniak. Every day, Arjan would return from work and add the security vulnerabilities he had identified with his group to the database or directly hack the websites. Arjan managed to earn the trust of the Russian group and improve his hacking skills. The Russians taught Arjan how to steal credit card information or bank account details. This technique, which is now very common, was like an unattainable blessing at that time because neither banks nor websites had proper security systems. Arjan successfully hacked the credit card information of an American in October 2006 for the first time, stealing $500 from his account. Arjan now savored the taste of easy money because the amount he obtained from this act in just a few hours was several times more than what he earned as a load handler in a month. Due to his greed, he became more focused on this activity. After a while, he came to the conclusion that he should quit working at the cafe and become a full-time hacker. He moved to a better apartment, but he still didn't realize the dark path he had embarked on because he was living his dream. Everything was going so well that he couldn't even imagine it. Arjan was making money. In addition to that, he became acquainted with a girl named Alina Kuvalkano in the Russian group, and they became friends. This group of hackers realized that credit cards and bank server vulnerabilities were a good target, so they decided to go further and attack all the ATMs in the world by manipulating the compromised credit cards. The process was simple. The group gained access to a computer in a bank using various hacking methods, with phishing being the most common. They would send an email to one of the bank employees, using the name of one of their acquaintances, which usually everyone would open. When the Word file attached to the email was opened, without anyone realizing it, the entire system was under the control of the group. Immediately, they would buy a credit card and give the PIN codes of this credit card to the members of the group who had access to the system. They would manipulate the ATMs and remove the credit card limits, emptying all the money in the ATM. In fact, credit cards are only usable when money is preloaded onto them. And once the money runs out and the card is compromised, it becomes useless. The group that Arjan was a member of easily transformed into an active international gang, hacking websites, adding to databases, and making profits. They accessed the account information and credit cards of thousands of people every day, or infiltrated the system of a bank and manipulated the credit cards of bank customers. Arjan's desires went far beyond what money could buy. It included a 4-bedroom apartment with a trust in the affluent area of Istanbul, a villa in Bodrum, a room in a castle in Costamono, a Lexus Jeep purchased from Dubai, luxury buses, sailboats, an apartment, and a livestock farm in Costamono. Arjan, who now had millions of dollars in income, often went on vacations abroad and enjoyed a life beyond his dreams. He was living the high life, but eventually, he had to wake up from any dream. Of course, Arjan and his group had been under surveillance for a long time. However, their attempts to be found were unsuccessful because, as I mentioned, during that time, the internet and cybercrimes were not as prevalent. An incident occurs that exposes everything and identifies the group. The hacker group that Arjan was a member of hacks a website owned by the US Department of Defense, namely the Pentagon. Arjan realizes the dangerous actions they have taken and wants to separate himself from the group. In fact, the group goes even to the brink of collapse, but only the final theft remains. Just like what they had been doing for years. They stole $10 million from 15,000 ATMs in 2011, $5 million from 4,500 ATMs in 2012, and finally, the ultimate theft in 2013, amounting to $40 million from 23 cities, including New York, in just 10 hours. In total, they pocketed $55 million in the final theft. The matter was simple. This was not the first time they were doing this. The hacker team had to crack the bank's security protocols and raise the withdrawal limit on credit cards for unlimited access by group members. The hacker group used unlimited credit cards to withdraw as much money as they could from ATMs. But they didn't consider one thing, that the FBI was chasing them. The theft of ATMs in 23 cities around the world, including New York, was officially equivalent to the group's suicide. Arjan had been pursued by the FBI and cybercrime experts at the Ankara Security Administration for a long time, but when they suddenly acquired so much money, they thought they were untouchable. However, the final theft is still successful. The money is received through bank transfers, electronic payments, postal services, and currency exchanges. All ATMs in New York are emptied, and one of the group members is arrested. Upon hearing this news, Arjan immediately returns to Germany, but he is unaware. While all these operations were taking place, he was being pursued worldwide. All of his conversations were being tapped, including the ones he had with his mother and the ones he had with his connections in Turkey for money laundering. A few days later, Arjan was arrested in the hotel where he was staying in Germany. When he was apprehended, he had 14,000 euros in cash, a luxury wristwatch, an expensive mobile phone, and a fake driver's license. When they examined Arjan's laptop, they found millions of bank accounts and recorded conversations. After this period, the money had become so worthless to Arjan that he once told his mother that he didn't have the patience to bring her the purse and would throw it off the balcony. The purse that contained $400,000 in cash was involved in these transactions. Matan Jahan and Ali Mahmatin, who were working as intermediaries for Arjan, bought a sailboat, a BMW car, and a motorcycle for themselves. It was even discovered that they participated in a sailing boat race with their own boat on May 4-8, 2008. The process of Arjan's arrest was not very painful because he constantly flaunted his money and shared photos and videos of his luxurious vacations on social networks. At the same time, he gave a lot of money to his acquaintances, and his sudden wealth was also recorded in government documents. Because if you earn money without legitimate documentation, banks report it to the government. Therefore, arresting Arjan was not very difficult. When Arjan was apprehended, the United States requested his extradition because Arjan had stolen money from all the ATMs in New York. After an exhausting 18-month period, the United States finally managed to extradite Arjan, who had emptied the ATMs on the streets of New York, and return him. If all of Arjan's crimes were proven, he would have been sentenced to 249 years in prison. However, when his trial concluded in 2017, he was only sentenced to 8 years in prison, but this sentence was to be executed after his extradition to Turkey. By the way, what happened to the Russian hacker group? There was no news about them for a while until a year later when $1 billion were stolen from ATMs worldwide. Stay tuned for the video of the $1 billion theft.